There's a huge amount of tension, it would seem, between King Charles and Prince William all over Prince Harry, according to experts giving an exclusive to the Express, which says, and I quote, King Charles shuts down William in a 5-word rage over Prince Harry's return. I've talked about the prospect of Prince Harry returning to the UK, not just to live and to come here permanently, but just to come for reconciliation talks with the King and Prince William and other members of the family, and whether that will happen or not is yet to be seen. But this is quite the development. It's quite telling as to what's really going on, and royal experts have mixed views on it. And in the second half of the video, some further views as to the bigger, wider picture of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and what might have been going along all the time. And so I'll come back to that a little bit later in the video. First of all, we're here on Secrets. If that wasn't clear, please do subscribe. This is my sort of talk to you about anything channel. And I will talk to you about some martial arts and back pain and things like that. My back pain is completely gone, by the way. So if you have any trouble with back pain, sciatica, I have a fantastic video on this channel with over 4 million views on it. I'll link that below. Let me know if you want to see more videos like that on here, and please do subscribe. But for now, let's talk about this, because I take a keen interest in the monarchy and what's going on. Because, well, I am British, and I like the fact that we have a monarchy in this country. And I would like to think that we can maintain it with some level of dignity. Now, there's been a lot of different schools of thought on this in recent years, particularly with what's happened with Harry and Meghan disappearing back to the United States. But here we have tension not just between him and the royal family, but within the royal family with King Charles and Prince William over Prince Harry's return. So they say that there are mixed schools of thought here. The first is that Prince William is calling the shots around because he's he's very mature. He's doing a lot more work within the royal family and garnering a lot of respect from a lot of people, and therefore maybe calling some sort of authority when he's making decisions. And to that extent, some people say and believe that this in-person meeting with Prince Harry is simply not going to happen without Prince William's say-so, because he is garnering a lot of authority both within the royal family and further afield. But at the same time, the other school of thought is what resulted in this headline, which is that King Charles is the king and he's going to make the final decision. And the 5-word rage, I presume, is, I'm the king, not you. I presume that's what they're talking about here, because it would seem that he is now stamping his authority somewhat in that he's going to decide what happens. Now, many people know that King Charles is a sentimental king. He takes family very seriously, obviously loves his sons very much, and I'm sure would like to see the reconciliation and would like to see everything come back to normal. But the big problem here, it would seem, is the trust with Prince William. I think the relationship between father and son is obviously very different as between siblings, and the trust between siblings once lost is perhaps never regained. And perhaps that's how Prince William feels. Perhaps he feels that with the books and the allegations and the spilling of the family gossip and so on in such a broad public spectrum was unforgivable. And perhaps that is why his trust, or the bar to regain his trust now, is so high that Harry's just not going to be able to reach it, which I suspect is why there's probably been very little by way of telephone communication or other written communication, because they want to avoid this being leaked to the press, making its way into a book and so on. And you can hardly blame anybody in the royal family from taking that perspective because of what has been churned out in books and interviews and podcasts so far, and Prince Harry saying that he has enough material for another book. So if I were in that position, I certainly wouldn't want to be contributing more material for him to throw in a book if things don't go the way he wants. That would be a perfectly reasonable thing to assume on the part of Prince William. King Charles, on the other hand, probably just thinks, well, I'm the king, I want to reconcile, I want him to come back, I want this to happen, and therefore it would seem, from my reading between the lines of what the royal experts are saying here, that because King Charles, being a very emotional person, very sentimental person, and obviously loving his family very much, etc., as a family person, and wanting that reconciliation, whereas Prince William possibly having severe trust issues, that is therefore causing a lot of tension between them, which is all very difficult to see. And so either way, whether Prince Harry comes back or not, we're probably going to see quite a bit of movement on the monarchy front this year. I personally think and predict that he will come back. There will be some sort of meeting. There may be some kind of tensions between them. Prince William may or may not participate in that, but I think at the very least he'll be there with the king. And I think ultimately, I think Prince William will take part in that. And I think it will be somewhat with reluctance. And I think he will want other people present. And I think he will want it to be documented and so on to avoid any kind of media leaks and spills and things like that. Because again, I think the level of trust is something that he's going to struggle to get over. And perhaps Prince Harry's changing his mind about whether he's going to continue this leaking of information to the press, or not just leaking, but printing books and documentaries and so on. Perhaps he's rethought that. Perhaps now he realizes just how badly he's got this wrong, and the result of which is he's now somewhat estranged from the family. And of course, he must feel somewhat isolated in the United States, with his family sort of estranged in that way. But we'll have to see. But what the experts are also talking about is the bigger, longer, broader picture with Meghan Markle in the story. And actually, it makes a lot of sense, and it does seem to explain a lot of things. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, a word from a company that really helps to support my channel here. Please do stick around. They're a great company. Have a listen to this, and I'll be back in just a moment.
Just as an aside, very quickly, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for supporting me on all my channels for so many years, but also for supporting my partners who help to make my channels possible, or make it possible for me to spend more time here with you. One of whom is Holy. They produce fantastic drinks, including iced teas, energy drinks, and hydration drinks. And today I'm looking at these new hydration drinks that they've sent me, one of which is the passion fruit, which I have in a bottle with me here, which I drink today. But they produce fantastic drinks here to keep you hydrated. Now, many of you know that I take my training and my fitness seriously, and it's now over 2 years since I stopped drinking alcohol completely, which has made hydration and water so much more important. And if there's one thing that you can do for your fitness, your health, etc., it is drinking more water, which is why these are so fantastic, because they encourage you to drink more water. Now, this one is the passion fruit. Now, I know it's difficult to get the idea of flavors through a screen, but the passion fruit, I would say, is a really fruity yet light and slightly tangy, really refreshing drink that you can just drink more and more of because it's really refreshing. The new orange flavor in the hydration range, I would say, is as good as it could get, as in it is natural in its flavor. It is really refreshing, and there's no sort of artificial aftertaste that you can get in some drinks. I really do like the orange one. It's comparable to any other brand out there, but it's full of vitamins and antioxidants. And the other flavor, this standard multivitamin, which is a sort of multi-fruit, multivitamin drink. Again, it's like a tropical summer drink, but it's not got any sharp taste to it. It's really fruity. It's really nice. I've tried all three of these new flavors. Of course, there's a whole range of other flavors. I would suggest if you're new to Holy, you would go with the Starter Set Deluxe. You get 42, I think it is, servings of their range, plus you get a free shaker with it. There's also a limited edition range of really cool shakers at the moment. I've got a bright yellow one of those, and it doesn't leak. It's fantastic. I carry it around with me. And of course, as they're a partner to my channel, you get a great discount. So if you use the code SECRETS, it gets you 10% off your entire order or an ongoing order. Or if you want a simple £5 off an order, just use the code SECRETS5 and it will take £5 off that order. I cannot emphasize enough that I would not work with a company that I didn't like and whose products I didn't like. I've had a lot of companies approach me and I simply refuse to work with them. But Holy are fantastic. So thank you once more for supporting me and for supporting my partners, Holy. Check them out. I think you will love them.
Okay, so what the experts are now suggesting, and this is a Daily Mail article I'm referring to, which I'll link them below. Meghan Markle, they say, left a trail of evidence so that she could then hijack the narrative retrospectively, which they say or suggest that she did in the Oprah Winfrey interview. Now, writing a biography about the staff who served the royals titled Couriers, author Valentine Lowe said the palace needed evidence of the duty of care that the organisation had showed them, as in Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And so, Harry and Meghan's former aide, Samantha Cohen, and key courtiers Edward Young, late Queen's private secretary, and the King's private secretary, Sir Clive Alderton, agreed that evidence would be gathered by the aides to quash any claims that Harry and Meghan had not been properly looked after. However, when doing so, and it's always sensible to do so, if you sort of suspect something's going to happen and come back later on, it's always good to have in your mind what you need to set out. And I talk about this on my main channel a lot. What you need to do, you need to keep a diary of things, you need to keep evidence and trails of things. I've had various conversations about things that happened many years ago, just recently, and I had to prove what happened and to the extent of what happened and who said what to whom, when and where and so on. And I keep all the evidence of that. So when I say something, this happened on this date and for this reason and this is how it happened and so on. When you want to prove those things, you need to be able to show the evidence. And so I've always done that. I've always kept the evidence of these things. And so now it would seem that when they are looking back retrospectively at how they gathered evidence to quash any prospective claims that either of them had not been properly looked after. But Mr. Lowe then wrote that Meghan was already leaving a trail of evidence behind, so that when the time came that she and Harry left working royal status, that she would be able to say, look how they failed to support me. Such as, and there's various examples in the article, such as when Meghan went to HR for help and was given a sympathetic hearing, but the department was ultimately there to deal with employee issues and not members of the royal family. Now, of course, that's what the department's there for. But then Samantha and the other courtiers were aware of bullying allegations lodged against the Sussexes as early as 2018. Samantha told Australian media that she was one of 10 staff members interviewed by the palace following the complaints. However, and this is where the key phrase comes in, they say that it was Meghan that won in the battle to air her grievances first, when, according to Mr. Lowe, she hijacked the narrative by making it all about her mental health, and all the things that royal staff had done to help the couple succeed had been forgotten, allowing Meghan to point out all the times they'd failed her. These failures were then singled out to millions during the Sussex interview with Oprah in 2021. So now it all makes sense. So you've got both sides trying to not just collate evidence, but lay a trail of evidence and leave things in place so that you can go back retrospectively if you need to show we did this, we did that, and we did the other. In fact, I can give you a bit of an example from the legal sphere, which I think is actually quite ridiculous, but here we go. If in the scenario that a client came to you on, let's say, day 1, and they had a trial date at, say, day 50, and halfway through, they had some semblance or indication of a mental condition of some sort or another, and if you as the firm had not inquired about it at the beginning, and then said client makes a complaint to the legal ombudsman, the complaints regulator for legal services, if you'd not inquired about that right at the outset, that might mean that they are then entitled to compensation, even though it was entirely unforeseeable, unrealistic that you would ever think to ask about that particular condition at the beginning, and even when emails come in, even if it might be a vague indication, much less, not a diagnosed issue of any kind. But if there's even an indication and you haven't asked about that at the outset, then the firm can be liable to compensation. That is how difficult these things are. And so when firms ask lots of questions about clients like this, it's for that very reason. And particularly with certain types of cases and certain types of lawyers, they will be very, very careful at taking cases on unless they've done all these checks, unless they have all the evidence, because Frankly, not having the evidence and backing these things up later on is absolutely detrimental to any firm. And so looking at cases like this, I can very well understand why these experts say that they were gathering evidence as they went along in the event that complaints might be made later. So they can then point out and show, this is how we supported you, and this is how any prospective complaint would be false or unsubstantiated. However, this now suggests, having done that, as the article suggests, that Meghan Markle appears, according to Mr. Lowe, to have hijacked the narrative, making it all about her mental health, and all the things that the royal staff had done to help her succeed had been forgotten, and instead pointing out all the times that they'd failed her. And in 2018, you'll recall Jason Knopf, royal aide who was very close with Harry and Meghan, sent an internal email apparently raising concerns that Meghan's alleged poor treatment of staff of the royal family, which was then leaked after Megxit. According to that quote, it said, "I'm very concerned that the Duchess was able to bully 2 PAs out of the household in the past year. The treatment of X was totally unacceptable," he allegedly wrote. So taking all those together, I think Prince Harry, Meghan Markle are going to have a very high bar to reach to achieve any level of trust with Prince William and indeed King Charles, although I think King Charles will be more forgiving, more likely to want to reconcile the relationship, probably with both of them. But I could understand if that's just not the case and not going to happen. I think William will be quite reluctant, although I think he will reluctantly participate if King Charles, as it's suggested, just says, "I'm the king, you're not, and my decision, my way," that's what's going to happen. I think he'll reluctantly participate, but I certainly think he will want to be belt and braces with the evidence of what is said and what happens to ensure that there's no ill treatment or any other cause for complaint. Because I think if there is any bigger fallout from this, such as Spare 2.0, I think we'll see a break in traditions, and I think there'll be a response from Prince William. We did see one uncharacteristic response to the media, which I think I said at the time was out of sheer frustration when there was the idea that they were being accused of being racist, and he responded to the press uncharacteristically and said, "We are very much not a racist family." And I could sense that level of frustration way back then, and I think that persists today. So we'll wait and see what happens. I do hope on many levels that they can reconcile and bring things back together. It is always a sad state of affairs to see families like that, but we'll wait and see. Let me know what your thoughts and comments in the box below. Please do subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.